The village had no proper name yet. That was the first thing a visitor would notice. Handmade signs pointed the way to the bathhouse, the forge, the granary, but the settlement itself remained unnamed, as though to name it might somehow jinx it. Dawn was still an hour away, and the sky held that particular darkness that comes just before the world remembers it is supposed to have color. Frost coated the grass in silver needles. Somewhere a crow called once and did not call again. Smoke rose from 3 fires, the forge, the kitchen, and one other, a watchfire at the northern road, where it should not have been burning at this hour at all. There is a moment, right before catastrophe, when everything is still. Not peaceful, still, the way a held breath is still, the way an arrow is still at the top of its arc. Kaito had learned to feel that moment arrive. He simply hadn't learned yet what to do when it did. At the edge of the firelight stood Saya, arms crossed, jaw set. She had not slept. Her kimono, rough indigo linen repaired twice at the left shoulder, was damp with dew. Behind her, the road north cut through the darkness like a wound. The carved mountain pass was invisible from there, but its presence was felt. It always was. 3 figures sat bound in the dirt nearby. Imperial soldiers, or men dressed as Imperial soldiers, for the crests on their armor were wrong, subtly wrong. The kind of wrong only someone raised near the Imperial capital would ever recognize. Kaito arrived at a half-run, breathing hard, his sandals still unlaced. He stopped at the sight of the prisoners and looked at Saya. "You didn't wake me," he said. "You were asleep," she answered. "I handled it." "You handled 3 soldiers," he said slowly. "They weren't expecting a woman. Men never do." She said it without pride, only fact, and nudged the nearest prisoner with her foot, not unkindly, just to indicate that he was real, that all of this was real. Kaito crouched to study the crest. "These aren't Imperial issue." "No," she said. "The stitching on the mon is backwards. Someone copied it from a rubbing, not from a real garment. They came from the capital road, but they're not capital men." "Then who sent them?" She did not answer at once. She looked at him steadily, and something careful crossed her face. Not fear, for Saya did not do fear in public. She had already thought this through. She had waited for him to arrive so she would not have to say the next words alone. "The one on the left had a letter," she said. "Sealed with a personal stamp, not Imperial wax." She held it out. The wax was already broken. She had broken it, for she was not a woman to wait on ceremony when the settlement's survival was at stake. The stamp pressed into the hardened wax was elegant, and to Kaito it was unmistakable. He had seen it on documents his whole childhood, his stepmother's seal. His hands did not shake. He was aware of this as a choice he was making in real time. He read the letter. He read it again. The fire popped once. He had known. In some quiet room at the back of his mind, he had known this peace would not hold, that she would not forget him simply because she had removed him. Exile was not enough for Yuriko. It never would be. The letter said only, "Finish it." Inside Oji-san's inn, the common room was low-ceilinged and warm, cluttered with the dignified chaos of a space that had been lived in hard. Mismatched cushions, a ceramic teapot with a chipped lid, someone's sandals by the door that belonged to no one present. Oji-san had been awake since the commotion. He was always awake before trouble announced itself, which Kaito had come to understand was one of his quiet gifts. He poured tea without being asked, set 2 cups on the low table, and sat across from Kaito with the unhurried gravity of a man who had survived enough mornings to know that tea first was not laziness but wisdom. Saya stood near the wall. She did not sit. She rarely sat indoors when something was wrong, keeping herself vertical and ready, like a sword left in its scabbard but not yet put away. "How many days until they're missed?" Oji-san asked. "The letter didn't say when they left," Kaito replied. 2 days. Maybe 3. And when they're missed, someone will come looking." "Yes." The old man wrapped both hands around his cup. "This settlement has 43 people in it now. More coming before the cold season ends." "I know. 43 people who came here because this place felt like it might hold." He paused. "That feeling is also a thing that can be killed." Kaito looked at him and understood that Oji-san was not telling him to run, nor telling him what to do at all. He was only laying out what was real, with the patience of a man who had no personal stake in the outcome, except that he was here, which meant he had chosen to be here, which meant he had already made his bet. "If I leave," Kaito began, "if I go north, go to the Demon Road, try to—" "No," said Saya. "Saya, you don't negotiate from a position of nothing. You don't walk into the Demon Road with a letter from your stepmother and a good face and expect—" She stopped herself. "No." She pushed off the wall, took 2 steps toward him, then halted, arms folding tightly. the posture of someone physically preventing herself from doing something. There has to be another way. Kaito looked at her a long moment. His face did something she had not seen before. Not fear, not calculation, but something older. The expression of a man who had considered an option he would rather not have, and found it necessary anyway. The demon road, he said quietly, is the only road they won't follow. At the forge, Sora was working the bellows when Kaito found him. The place smelled of iron and coal and the particular animal heat of sustained effort. The boy was 16 and still growing into his shoulders, and he worked with a concentration that looked almost devotional. He did not stop when Kaito arrived. He finished his count. Then he straightened, wiped his face on his sleeve, and looked at Kaito with the kind of attention young people give to adults they have decided to trust completely. The most terrifying form of attention there is. "I heard the watchfire," Sora said. "Everyone heard it." "What do you need from me?" Kaito was quiet, looking at the half-formed piece on the anvil, a bracket for the new bathhouse door. Ordinary work, the work of building a life. "Keep working," he said. "That's what I need. Whatever happens in the next 3 days, I need you to keep working like the bathhouse door needs that bracket, because it does." Sora did not look reassured. He looked like he wanted to argue and had decided against it. He picked up his hammer. "Don't die up there," he said without looking up. "I'm not going to die. That's what people say." At the settlement's edge by noon, Kenji the merchant was loading his cart with the efficiency of a man who moved for a living. The sun stood straight overhead, the frost long gone, the grass steaming faintly in the midday light. He had heard everything. Kenji always heard everything, by some means no one understood, and he tossed Kaito a small cloth bundle without breaking stride. "Dried fish, travel rations, don't thank me, it'll make this awkward." "I wasn't going to." Kenji stopped. "The demon kingdom beyond the pass, the near one, the one we don't have a name for. I've heard traders talk about it. Strange reports. Nothing violent, just strange." "Strange how?" "Strange like they have things we don't. Not weapons, infrastructure, long roads, old ones." He paused. "Strange like they've been watching us for longer than we've been here." Kaito absorbed this. The cartwheel squeaked as Kenji resumed loading. A crow landed on a nearby post, considered them both, and departed. "You're building something real, Kaito," Kenji said, almost gently. "I've been through 50 settlements in 10 years. Most of them are already gone. What you have here," he did not finish. "Just come back." By late afternoon, Kaito walked the northern road alone. The settlement lay behind him. He had let no one accompany him this far, and it had cost something, for Seiya had asked 3 times, and the 3rd time her voice lost the argument before her words did. The road was carved stone, old, older than anyone now living, moss claiming its edges. The mountain grew ahead of him like a held breath. He walked until the settlement was out of sight. Then he stopped. He stood in the middle of the old road with the mountains ahead and the life he was building behind, and he was 18 years old, and his father did not know where he was, and his stepmother had sent men to finish something she had started with forged paper and a seal she had no right to use. He had thought once that surviving would be enough, that making it through the first season would be the hard part. He understood now that survival was only ever the question the world asked to see what answer you were made of. He reached into his kimono and drew out a small, smooth stone, the kind found in a riverbed, worn to near-perfect roundness. He had carried it since the capital, and he did not know why. He closed his fist around it and walked forward. The mountain swallowed the road swallowed him. Behind him, the settlement breathed on without its founder, 43 fires against the dark, waiting. And beyond the pass, something was already waiting too. The question was whether it had been waiting to harm him or waiting for a very long time to help.